How are you feeling?
I got a lot of mixed feelings. Like, I'm extremely frustrated, just based on being out like all summer and then finding out recently that there was like a murder in our town by the police. But also, I'm feeling a little bit hopeful because a lot of things happened very quickly. From my understanding and from the words of the family, Daniel Prude was not well. It's possible he consumed a drug. It's also possible that he didn't realize that he consumed that drug. He was a danger to himself, and his brother knew that, so he called 911 to get help for him. Uh, the the hospital discharged him, within a couple of hours, and he was still going through his psychotic episode. So he called again. He begged for the police. He begged to the police to not kill his brother, but instead, when they saw him walking down the street with no clothes on, they restrained him. They put a spit hood on him. They let him essentially pass out and go brain dead, and he passed away. And everyone was called to that scene is responsible. And instead of being honest about it, we didn't hear about this until 6 months later. It's September, and that's when we heard about it.
I think part of me is frustrated that it is taking us this much effort and this much time for our officials to do something that they should have known to do much sooner. So it's a little disheartening to know that they're still dragging their feet and really not knowing, what their motivation behind them dragging their feet is. That's frustrating. But I also feel hopeful just at the sense of community that has come together and really pushing for real results, real justice, and, real solutions for our community.
What does public safety mean to you?
So it's uplifting communities. It's not about punishing people who have fallen victim to lack of funding, lack of education, because people who lash out do it for a reason. No one does things for no reason. You have to make sure that people have the resources to succeed in the first place.
I think we think of safety just in terms of violence. And, the reality is, the majority of the crimes in our community really aren't violent crimes. I think people are seeking, mental and emotional help. I think people just need food and, and proper education. So I think public safety, when you think about it, making sure that we're all good is making sure that we're actually addressing the needs of the community. Because when you neglect the needs, you see negative results.
You need to reallocate those resources that are like all this money that's being funded into the police now. Like when we say defund, we don't mean like, everything stops tomorrow. It's just take those resources and spread them out so that you're including more people who can help with different issues. So if there's a mental health crisis, someone calls, you don't send someone who's combat trained necessarily. You send someone who knows how to deal with a mental health crisis.
The way that police are trained in this country, and specifically in Rochester, they are trained to think of everyone as a suspect. I have the real fear that I may be considered a suspect no matter what. I've been held up by police since I was 14. I've been slammed to the ground while going to school because I didn't hear them say freeze. I've had a gun pointed at me in the backseat of a car because the police thought that we stole the car when it was really my friend's parents' car. I've been stopped for stabbing someone that I didn't stab. And then sometimes I was just stopped because they thought that I looked suspicious in some way. There wasn't really a reason. It was just kind of like a bullying tactic.
It's taken too long, but I think that myself as well as many other people now realize the importance of learning more. And also learning, like, I grew up in a pretty bougie little suburb in Westchester, and there was a lot that I didn't know. Realizing that certain things that I'd been taught, for example, about the civil rights movement, just were so whitewashed and so it's PG. So it's figuring out what you don't know, making an effort to educate yourself, share that, and tell people why.
What role do police play in public safety?
You know, I think officers are great at directing traffic, so they can keep doing that. Yeah.
I'm really thankful for the vibe tonight and the atmosphere. You know, it's really, people are just coming together, and there's you know, many nights where there's a lot of tension with the police officers acting the way they've been acting. And tonight is just more communal and, you know, people connecting, and it's beautiful.
I just feel so cared for in this movement right here that we're at City Hall, where a lot of my physical needs are being met, mental needs are being met, emotional needs are being met, spiritual needs are being met, creative needs are being met. There's so much art going on. So all Black Lives Matter for me is my well-being is tied into it as well.
I'm feeling like I'm holding my breath until the arrests are made. You know, I feel like this tension, I feel like I can't focus on anything else right now until we get justice in the form of arrests.
I've been out here for 14 days now, so every single day. I started off coming with a cousin of mine. She came again 2 or 3 times with me, but then I started finding myself coming by myself. And then probably towards like the 10th day, I kind of broke down, you know what I'm saying? Quietly alone, but I also broke down in the middle of a protest, like when we were at the public safety building, because I felt hurt. You know, I felt hurt not only for myself, but for the person next to me, you know what I'm saying? And a person I didn't even know, and what we're going through. But because we're together and we're fighting together, I still felt the love. Even through the hurt and pain, I felt the love.
Personally, I'm very angry. I'm very angry, especially because I saw the video and see how these cops handled him like that. To me, that breaks my heart. And I don't want to see stuff like that happening. Like, I want to, like, it's just too much going on. Like, for me, I'm sorry, this gets me so mad. Hold on 1 second. But, like, every time I think about George Floyd or people like Daniel Prude, like, it really breaks my heart simply because, like, every time I'm walking down the road as a black man, I wonder, like, that could be me, you know what I mean? It could be anybody, my little sisters, anybody, anyone of color. Like, I shouldn't have to be a target because of my skin color, you know what I mean? And for that, to have to live like that, I think it's terrible. I don't think no black person in America should have to live like that.
It's like we're living in a world where we're not recognized as being humans. It's like our ancestors have fought so long and so hard for us to have the basic human rights. And still today, we're still fighting for the same thing that our ancestors have fought forever for, and we still don't have it.
Kenyatta, why do you think that is?
Because the entire system of the United States was built on racism. It was built on hate of black people. There's no way to fix a system that was built wrong from the start. You have to tear the whole thing down and restart.
We find ourselves in a very unique time in history where we're dealing simultaneously with 2 pandemics, both a racial pandemic and a viral pandemic. How are you coping with that?
Cry, pray, talk to other people who feel the same way that I do. Growing up in a school, I went to Greece Athena. Growing up in a school where it was mostly dominantly white, it's just like you grow up with it. So a part of you, and it sucks to say this, a part of you is used to it, but then again, it's just that feeling like, why can't it just be fair? Why can't it just be equal?
It's hard. For a long time, I didn't want to go out to the protests. I was scared of Corona. My dad didn't want me to go to the protest. It took a lot for me to finally get up and say I want to go outside, because I've always wanted to go, but it was like more of a my health, my siblings' health, my mother's health. So, putting that before me. But now that I'm at school, it's like, okay, I can go to the protest. There's no one I'm going to get sick. It's just me to worry about now. So I can go out and I can protest. And although I'm vocal on social media, it's not the same as having the right to go out to the streets and be a voice and be a body in the streets.
When it comes to coping with situations like this, my number one thing is just to make sure you educate those that aren't educated about the situations that are going on now. If someone is saying something that doesn't make sense, that's the time to educate them, just like I have done in class. People say smart remarks. I don't sit here and get mad about it. Of course I'm infuriated, I am angry, but that's the time to educate that person because a lot of people aren't educated, especially when it comes to the topic of racial injustices and stuff along the lines of that.
What role do police play in public safety?
Currently and historically, I think police have no role in public safety. I think they're designed to do very specifically what they do, which is protect property and property owners, specifically of white, middle, and upper class property owners.
Their job is to help make sure that things are in control when it comes to violence and things like that, not to kill innocent people. If I make a call because someone is on the street and regardless of their mental state, they shouldn't be killed just because they're in any situation. They should be dealt with accordingly. There was a call that was made for Daniel Prude. He was killed for no reason.
I should be able to call the police and think, you know what, they're gonna come here and do their job. I don't think every police officer is bad, but you don't know what situations you're gonna be in. And I think that's the major concern for every typical black person.
If I was going through a traumatic situation in the public, I would look to my peers in the community to help me. You know what I'm saying? I don't even feel comfortable looking to, I guess if you would say like the authorities or the police department. You know what I'm saying? If I was to think about public safety, I would think about calling my community, calling my fellow peer to help me out.
If you had control of the city's budget, where would you spend the money?
Oh my God. City school district. I mean, is there any wonder that in this town where we have such a high level of poverty that we also have the worst city school district, one of the worst in the country. So I would definitely allocate funds there. Also allocating funds into the infrastructure of the area of the Crescent neighborhoods, putting money into there, building up black businesses, building up property, and giving money back to the community to see, okay, how are you going to build up your own neighborhood, build up your own community? That money is, like the people say, they need to be defunded and the people need a refund. People are out here like having a difficult time. And so we're basically like funding our own terror, right, as people say.
Those resources would be allocated towards housing, towards education, towards health care, specifically mental health care, and not just the current organizations that provide mental health care and housing and resources supporting folks in the RCSD, but transforming those organizations as well, which are also grappling with white supremacy and hire people from the suburbs to do mental health counseling with folks in the city who they know nothing about culturally.
I was in a shelter before, so I feel like sometimes funds to those, because they're obviously they're not funded enough. Money for them, money for kids, the schooling, definitely the schooling.
We have so many community centers and so many rec centers in this city that are closed on Saturdays, closed on Sundays, closed on Fridays. This whole summer, I've been to a rec center twice due to it being closed. Now, I understand we have a pandemic, but still. Our black education and our black community and education-wise is failing. We can give $100 million to the police department, but we still have homeless people on the streets. We give $100 million to the police department, but we still have kids walking around here don't have a home to go to.
How would you encourage more of your peers to join the Black Lives Matter movement?
for more white people to be part of this Black Lives Matter movement, I feel like the white people that already are need to learn themselves how to have a stamina to talk with their family, their neighbors, their coworkers. And to do that, from what I've been understanding, black folks, people of color, indigenous folks telling white people, y'all need to stop getting hostile and upset and angry with people, and y'all need to stop being silent and putting your head in the sand. We need you to build up a stamina to call your white peers in and not call them out when they're not harming anybody, when there's no injustice being committed, when it's just white folks at the dinner table or in the workplace or in your neighborhood. You need to have the stamina to listen, to understand why they have those hateful and fearful things that a lot of the times the intent is not there, the impact is very much so, but where's the white person's trauma? It's coming from a history of white supremacy affecting them as well in a more privileged way, and white folks need to be able to build long-term relationships with other white people talking about racism.
For my peers, my fellow black people, my fellow African American people, my fellow dark people, you can't sit back and speak on something if you're not coming out and doing something. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people was saying, oh, I see more white people than black people out here. And I turned to them and I said, well, you know what? If you feeling some type of way, then you should be out here. You know what I'm saying? And then also, and not in no disrespect type of way, but I feel like I don't see a problem where it's more white people out here than, black people, because, that's giving them a chance to see exactly what we're going through. They probably can't experience it in one night or even a week or 2 weeks, but they can sit here and be our backbone, you know what I'm saying? Be our shoulder to cry on, our shoulder to lean on, you know what I'm saying? So again, to my fellow peers, get out here.
It's a real thing that a lot of people feel like their oppression is a huge burden, and sometimes a lot of people feel like their voice is not going to be heard, and that's a real thing. So when you see a situation where you see a lot of black folks not involved in a certain thing, you got to understand that, that comes from a subconscious of feeling like your voice is not being heard. But we could make an effort to change that.
My quote will be, come together, stand together, and fight. It's been too long, 400 plus years, where our people have been dealing with this, going through this slavery, oppression, education, whatever it may be. It's time that now, it's 2020 now. So it's really time that we come together and we stand together and we fight.
I feel like everybody should be more involved in the movement, I feel like everybody should be involved in every movement, and I feel like this is no different from, the gay community movement. I feel like this is no different from the female movement. Everybody is equal, and this is America, Everybody should walk around freely and be happy.
Well, for me, as a black man, I feel like I belong here. I belong to be out here. For every black person who lost their life, that's why I'm here for. I'm here to protest that. I'm here to show that I care. I'm here to show that I care for my community and my people as well. So that's why I'm here, and I hope that anyone listening to me takes this message into consideration as well, comes to the realization that black lives do matter.
Just this scene, just this picture, just the fact that everything that's going on here is just the way it is, the amount of people that's out here, all you gotta do is just we all use social media, right? Take a quick video of everything that's going on here, and that's the statement itself.